I was driving down that familiar road on Christmas Eve, snow falling gently on my windshield, holiday music playing softly through the speakers. The backseat was packed with carefully wrapped presents, and my heart was full of anticipation. After 3 long years of missing family Christmas because of work, I had finally made it. I had no idea that in just a few minutes, my own mother would stand at the door and tell me I had the wrong house. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from today. Hit that like button and subscribe if you believe family should always have your back. If you have ever felt like an outsider in your own home, stay with me, because this story might just change how you see everything. Let me take you back to the beginning so you understand how I got here. My mother, Sarah, became a widow when I was just 12 years old. My father died in a workplace accident at a construction site, and overnight, everything changed. I had a younger brother, Derek, who was only 8 at the time. From that moment forward, I became more than just the older brother. I became the second provider. By the time I turned 14, I was working part-time jobs after school. I mowed lawns in the summer, shoveled driveways in the winter, and stocked shelves at the local grocery store on weekends. While other kids my age were going to football games and school dances, I was handing my paychecks to my mother to help cover bills. I never complained. That is just what family does. Right? Derek, on the other hand, had a different experience. Mom always said he was too young to work, too sensitive to handle pressure. So, while I sacrificed my teenage years, Derek got to live his fully. He played on the basketball team, went to prom with the prettiest girl in his class, and never once had to worry about money. Mom always told me, your brother is still a child, you understand. And I did understand. At least I thought I did. When it came time for college, I earned a full scholarship through sheer determination and countless sleepless nights studying. I worked 2 jobs throughout my 4 years just to cover my living expenses. I never asked my mother for a single dollar. Meanwhile, Derek went to a private university. Mom took out loans, worked extra shifts, and even sold some of Dad's old tools to pay for his tuition. When he graduated, she bought him a brand new car as a gift. When I graduated, I got a card with $20 inside. I told myself it did not matter. I was the strong one, the responsible one. I did not need the same kind of support. I had built myself from nothing, and I was proud of that. After graduation, I landed a solid job in finance. Within a few years, I was making good money, more than enough for myself. That is when the phone calls started. 5 years ago, when I was 25, my mother called me crying. She said the landlord was raising the rent and she could not afford it anymore. She was going to lose the house, the same house where I grew up, where all my childhood memories lived. How could I say no? I agreed to pay her rent every month. $1,800 transferred automatically on the first of each month. But it did not stop there. Over the years, there were requests for money to fix the roof, to repair the furnace, to buy a new refrigerator. When her old car broke down, I bought her a new one. When she needed surgery on her knee, I covered what insurance did not. I never kept track because keeping track felt wrong. She was my mother. Meanwhile, Derek was living his own life. He got married to a woman named Megan, had 2 kids, and worked part-time at a retail store. He was always talking about how hard things were, how expensive raising a family had become. But somehow, he always had money for vacations to Florida, for the newest gaming console, for eating out at nice restaurants every weekend. Every time I visited home, which was not often because of my work schedule, Derek treated me differently. He would make little comments, jokes that did not quite feel like jokes. Must be nice being rich, he would say. Or some of us actually have real responsibilities. I let it slide because he was my brother and brothers tease each other. That is normal, right? But there were other things I noticed too. When I called my mother, she always seemed busy or distracted. Our conversations were short sometimes, only a few minutes before she said she had to go. But when she needed money, suddenly, she had all the time in the world to talk. 3 Christmases passed without me being able to come home. The first year work was genuinely too demanding to take time off. I sent money for gifts, called on Christmas morning, and promised I would be there the next year. The second year, I was planning to come, but my mother told me they were keeping things small, just her and Derek's family. She said I did not need to make the long trip. The third year, she said the house was too crowded with Derek, Megan, and the kids staying over. There was no room for me. Each year, I still sent money. I paid for the Christmas dinner, the decorations, the presents for my niece and nephew. I told myself I was still part of the celebration, even from a distance. This year, I decided things would be different. I was not going to ask permission or wait for an invitation. I was just going to show up. I took time off work, booked a flight, rented a car, and drove 4 hours through snow-covered roads with a trunk full of presents. I had spent weeks picking out the perfect gifts. A cashmere sweater for my mother, educational toys for the kids, Even a nice bottle of bourbon for Derek despite everything. When I spoke to my mother a week before Christmas, something felt off. She seemed distracted, her responses clipped and short. When I mentioned I might have some time off, she quickly changed the subject. I told myself I was imagining things. She was probably just busy preparing for the holiday. I could not have been more wrong. I pulled up to the house around 7 in the evening on Christmas Eve. The windows glowed warm with light, and I could see the Christmas tree twinkling in the living room. Derek's car was parked in the driveway. I could hear music and laughter from inside. The smell of roast turkey drifted through the cold air. My heart was racing, but in a good way. I imagined the look of surprise on their faces when they opened the door. I pictured my mother's tears of joy, Derek's shocked smile, the kids running to hug their uncle. I grabbed the first bag of presents and walked up the familiar porch steps, the same steps I had climbed thousands of times as a child. I rang the doorbell. The door opened and there was my mother, Sarah. She was wearing a red Christmas sweater, her hair done up nicely, a glass of wine in her hand. For one brief second, her face lit up with the beginning of a smile. Then something changed. Her expression shifted. The warmth drained away like water down a sink. Her eyes went cold and her mouth tightened into a thin line. She looked at me like I was a stranger who had wandered onto her property by mistake. "Sorry," she said, her voice flat and distant. "I think you have the wrong house." And then she closed the door. I stood there frozen, the bag of presents hanging limply from my hand. Snowflakes settled on my shoulders and melted in my hair. I could not process what had just happened. My brain refused to accept it. I must have misheard her. There must be some mistake. I rang the doorbell again. No answer. I knocked. Nothing. Through the frosted glass of the door, I could see figures moving around inside. I heard my mother's voice saying something like, "Must have been someone with the wrong address." I stood on that porch for what felt like an eternity. The cold seeped through my coat and into my bones, but I barely felt it. The physical cold was nothing compared to the ice forming in my chest. Finally, I walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat staring at the house through my windshield. Through the window, I could see them all gathered around the dinner table. My mother at the head, Derek and Megan on either side, the kids bouncing excitedly in their chairs. They were laughing, talking, passing dishes around. A perfect family Christmas scene. A scene that did not include me. My phone buzzed. Derek's name appeared on the screen. I answered, my voice steadier than I expected. "Hey," Derek said. His tone was casual, like he was calling to chat about the weather. "So look, do not be upset, but we could not let you in." I waited for an explanation, an apology, something that would make sense of this nightmare. "Megan just is not comfortable with you being here," he continued. "You know how it is, and the kids need their space. Plus, we figured you would not show up anyway like every other year." I took a deep breath. "Understood," I said. "Okay, cool," Derek replied. I could hear the relief in his voice. "Glad you get it. Anyway, Merry Christmas or whatever. Talk later." But he did not hang up. I heard shuffling sounds, muffled voices. Derek must have lowered the phone without ending the call. And then I heard everything. "He still thinks helping with rent means he is automatically included." That was Derek's voice, followed by laughter. Then Megan chimed in. "Seriously, what did he expect, a parade? He sends money. Great, that is his job. Does not mean we have to spend our holiday with him." Then my mother's voice, the voice that used to sing me lullabies and read me bedtime stories. "Just let him go," she said. "He will get over it. Next month, he will still send the check. He always does." More laughter. Someone called me a walking wallet. Someone else said the ATM showed up at the door. I listened until I could not listen anymore. Then I ended the call and sat in the silence of my rental car, tears streaming down my face. Not tears of sadness, but tears of something else entirely. Something that felt like a wall crumbling inside me. A wall I had built over years of excuses and denial. I started the engine and drove away. I did not look back. I found a hotel about 20 miles away, a generic chain place off the highway. The lobby was decorated with tinsel and fake snow holiday music playing from hidden speakers. The desk clerk wished me a Merry Christmas with a smile that did not reach her eyes. I went to my room, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the wall for hours. It was the loneliest Christmas Eve of my life. I did not sleep that night. Instead, I sat by the window and thought about everything. Every sacrifice I had made, every check I had written, every family event I had funded from a distance. I added it up in my head, and the number shocked me. Over $100,000 in 5 years. $100,000 for people who saw me as nothing more than a source of income. As the first gray light of Christmas morning crept over the horizon, I made my decision. I called my bank first. The customer service line was operating with a skeleton crew, but I got through. I canceled the automatic monthly transfer of $1,800 to my mother's account. The representative asked if I was sure. I had never been more sure of anything in my life. Next, I called the credit card company. I had added my mother and Derek as authorized users on a card years ago for emergencies, I had told myself. I had them removed immediately. Their cards would be deactivated within the hour. I made more calls. The auto insurance policy I had been paying for my mother's car canceled. The family phone plan I had set up terminated. I contacted my mother's landlord, a man named Mr. Patterson, who I had been sending checks to for 5 years. I informed him that starting next month, he would need to collect rent directly from the tenant. By 9 in the morning, every financial tie I had to my family was severed. Then I blocked their numbers. My mother, Derek, Megan. I blocked them on social media too. I did not want to see their posts about what a wonderful Christmas they were having funded by the walking wallet they had just kicked out in the snow. I turned off my phone and finally slept for a few hours. When I woke up around 2 in the afternoon, I turned my phone back on. The notifications were overwhelming. 61 missed calls, 37 voicemails, over 200 text messages, many from numbers I did not recognize. They had been borrowing phones from neighbors, from friends, from anyone they could find. I listened to the voicemails in order. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. The first few were from my mother, her voice sweet and confused. "Honey, give me a call when you get this. I think there is some problem with the card at the store." Then came Derek, irritated. "Hey, what is going on? My phone just stopped working. Call me back." As the hours passed, the tone changed dramatically. My mother, annoyed, "I do not know what you think you are doing, but this is not funny. Fix whatever you broke." Derek, angry dude. "This is seriously messed up. Megan could not buy groceries this morning. The kids need breakfast." My mother, furious. "How dare you do this on Christmas Day after everything I have done for you, you ungrateful, selfish child." Derek panicked. "Look, I know things got a little heated last night. We were just joking around. You know how it is. Call me back and we can work this out." Then the begging started. My mother crying, "Please, baby, I am so sorry. I do not know what happened. I do not know why we said those things. Please do not do this to your mother." Derek, desperate. Okay, I messed up. I admit it. But you cannot just cut us off like this. The rent is due in a week. I have got kids to feed. Come on, man, be reasonable." The last voicemail was from my mother, and it was different from all the others. Her voice was cold, calculating. "Fine," she said. "You want to play it this way? I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. And this is how you repay me. You are going to regret this. Blood does not stop being blood because you are having a tantrum. You will come back. You always do." I deleted every message without responding. Over the following weeks, I heard bits and pieces through old friends who still lived in the area. My mother had to sell the car I bought her because she could not afford the payments on her own. Derek and Megan gave up their apartment and moved in with my mother because their income was not enough to cover their own rent, let alone help with hers. The house itself was in jeopardy. Mr. Patterson had been more than patient. But patience does not pay mortgages. Last I heard, they were 2 months behind and facing eviction proceedings. A small part of me felt a twinge of something, maybe guilt, maybe sadness. But then I remembered the sound of their laughter. He still thinks helping with rent means he is automatically included. And the twinge passed. The first few weeks were brutal, I am not going to lie. I walked around feeling hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left nothing but an empty shell. I second-guessed myself constantly. Was I being too harsh? Was this really the right thing to do? They were my family after all. Did not I owe them something? I was not sleeping well. I was not eating well. My work performance suffered, and my boss pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay. I told her I was dealing with some family issues. She did not push further. Finally, I did something I should have done years ago. I made an appointment with a therapist. Her name was Dr. Williams, a kind woman in her 50s with warm eyes and a no-nonsense approach. In our very first session, she introduced me to concepts I had never heard before: financial abuse, emotional manipulation, family enmeshment. She explained how some family systems are built on exploitation, how the responsible child often becomes the designated provider while being simultaneously excluded from belonging. You were not a family member to them, she told me. You were a resource. And setting boundaries against exploitation is not betrayal. It is survival. Those words hit me harder than anything that had happened on Christmas Eve. For the first time, I understood that what I had done was not cruel. It was necessary. Slowly, I started to rebuild. I threw myself into work and earned a promotion I had been chasing for years. I picked up new hobbies, things I had never had time for before. I started running training for a half marathon. I joined a book club. I took cooking classes on Saturday mornings. Most importantly, I made new connections. Real connections. There was a coworker named James who had always been friendly, but we had never hung out outside of work. I took a chance and invited him to grab a beer one evening. That beer turned into a friendship that changed my life. James had a big, warm family who lived about an hour outside the city. When he found out I was spending Sundays alone, he started inviting me to their family dinners. The first time I went, I was terrified. I sat stiffly at the table waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for someone to make a comment about my usefulness or lack thereof. But it never came. They just included me. They asked about my life, my interests, my opinions. They laughed with me, not at me. When I left that night, James's mother hugged me and said, "You are welcome here anytime you know," that I cried in my car the whole drive home. But they were different tears. About 6 months after that Christmas, I received a letter at my office. The return address was my mother's house. For a moment, my heart stopped. I almost threw it away without opening it. But curiosity got the better of me. The letter was from Sarah, 3 pages of her careful handwriting. I read every word. The first page was an apology of sorts. She said she was sorry for how things happened. She said Christmas Eve had gotten out of hand. She said she never meant to hurt me. The second page was a series of excuses. Derek and Megan were having problems, and she had been trying to keep the peace. She did not want to play favorites. She thought I would understand because I was always the understanding one. The third page was the real reason for the letter. She asked about the rent. She mentioned the car payments. She wondered if maybe now that some time had passed we could work something out. She reminded me that she was my mother, that family helps family, that blood is thicker than water. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it neatly, walked over to my trash can, and dropped it in. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no guilt, just a calm acceptance of what was. Some people do not change. Some relationships cannot be repaired, and some doors once closed should stay closed. The following December, I hosted my own Christmas gathering. It was small, just James and his girlfriend, a few other close friends, and my neighbor Maria, who was also spending the holiday alone. My apartment was modest, decorated with a small tree and some string lights, but it was filled with warmth and genuine laughter. We made dinner together, everyone contributing a dish. We exchanged small gifts, we played board games, and watched old holiday movies. When the evening wound down and everyone was saying their goodbyes, Maria hugged me and said this was the best Christmas I have had in years. And you know what? It was the best Christmas I had ever had. I stood by my window late that night watching the snow fall, just like it had fallen exactly 1 year earlier. But everything was different. A year ago, I had been standing in the cold on my mother's porch clutching presents for people who did not want me. Now I was standing in my own home surrounded by the lingering warmth of people who actually cared. I thought about that night often, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because that door closing in my face was the catalyst for everything that came after. The therapy, the growth, the new relationships, the person I became. Sometimes the door that closes in your face is the same door that sets you free. If you are watching this and you see yourself in my story, I want you to know something. You deserve to be more than useful. You deserve to be wanted, welcomed, and loved for who you are, not what you can provide. Setting boundaries is not abandoning your family, it is refusing to abandon yourself. I would love to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from people who only saw you as a resource? How did you find the strength to put yourself first? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like so it can reach others who might need to hear it. Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this and share it with someone who might be struggling with their own toxic family situation. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Whatever holiday season you are in, whatever family situation you are navigating, I hope you find your own people the ones who open the door wide when they see you coming. Take care of yourselves. You are worth it.